Captain's log. Stardate September, the beginning of it. We have been building our website for 5-ish days, and so far I've been asked to do nothing. Like seriously, I really haven't done anything. I'm not really great with HTML or C+, B-, or fucking math science or any of the shit you need to build websites. In fact, I'm not really that great at the internet in general. It's like rain. Thank God for video game time slaves Cody and Jose, who've done a great job in sort of building the bones of what will become our website. So far, my contributions have basically been, hey, that blue looks kind of nice. We are making great progress and we'll be launching very soon, and you guys will be the first to know about it. In the meantime, it is Cody and Jose's job to build a website, and it is my job to sit here and drink this delicious bourbon and talk about comic books. And it's your job to watch that. So what do you say we go to fucking work? Highway to the Danger Girls, or Danger Girl, is it plural? Anyway, Danger Girl is a book that is built on combining the kitschy 70s spy cliches with swashbuckling Johnny Quest style action, and then sort of wrapping it up all in this girl power. You know what, I can't even start like this. I have to jump right in and talk about this part because it really kind of weirded me out and pissed me off. Okay, this page right here, this one, listen, what we have right here is an Asian female bad guy with an Asian dragon tattoo and a samurai sword that acts like a ninja and is named Asia. And her henchmen are slouching, big-lipped, primal brown people. No, don't do that. Listen, this is 2015. All the peoples can get married and vote and buy land, and with the exception of a couple of huge dicks, everyone loves everyone. So why are these extremely offensive and outdated broad stereotypes like still going on? Like, you know, all of us up here in Future World having a good time tolerating each other, and this book is out here like putting forth vaudevillian caricatures of certain races and expecting no one to go, hey, no. Listen, I don't think this book is like deliberately trying to be offensive. I just think it has so few original ideas of its own that it sort of retreated into cliche and stereotype and created something that was totally not okay to put in your pages. And bad taste and possible racism aside, that is a huge problem throughout the book. And I understand this book is trying to use cliches from a sort of dead genre of storytelling and create a new story out of it. And things like the Venture Brothers have proven that you can do that with almost transcendent success. But in order to effectively use cliches, tritenesses, genre establishments, you have to put them in an interesting and novel world and do interesting novel things with them. But no, it just sort of regurgitates things we've seen before. It's all so shallow and basic. It's in your face and exploitative with its sexuality. It's cheap and low calorie with its action, and broad and pandering with its character archetypes. And in the end, you're left with a book you might as well call Blondie McWomanstein, Adventures in Not Being Interesting. This book is an example of something that is completely voiceless. Unlike the next book, which is absolutely dripping with it. Organic segue! I've talked about Providence before, but this book is something that is so incredibly complex that there's literally endless things to say about it, so let's fucking talk about it some more. Hooah! Listen, there's this played out cliche about what good horror is. The monster is scarier the less you see of it. Yeah, and we get it. Yeah, the unknown creates mystery. The human imagination is infinitely more terrifying than what is actually on screen, blah, blah. But the thing that people don't get about that triteness is it really doesn't apply just to horror, it applies to storytelling in general. And that's something that Providence really gets. It is incredibly prudish in the way it withholds its own world and story. It understands that you don't build a world and mythos by explaining a history or pontificating on the intricacies of your setting. You build a world by building a sense of place and a sense of things going on. You create a purposeful negative space that readers want to fill with almost a Newtonian force. And Providence is constantly doing that. The main character and narrator always seems to arrive just after or just before something interesting is happening. He's solving a mystery by always collecting the least important detail, and it's incredibly and intoxicating, but you're never able to assemble a picture. You're never able to hold anything in the palm of your hand. The story has an incredibly slow yet satisfying sense of momentum, and it really feels like we're building towards something awesome. But the thing is, I'm not 100% sure we're gonna get that big bam payoff moment like Cthulhu rising out of the ocean or the fucking sky bleeding or some other horrific cap to this horror story. No, this book seemed so much more interested in standing behind you and breathing in your ear than jumping out and going booga booga booga. And that's awesome, that's fine. We don't need a big M. Night Shyamalan twist in it. Sometimes the slow burn of a story is enough. Saying a book or story isn't good because it doesn't have an explosive, gory climax is like saying games like Dear Esther aren't worth playing because you don't fight a giant robot cyclops at the end. Or to use a less obscure reference, it's like saying that movies like Schindler's List aren't worth watching because Liam Neeson doesn't Irish box a shirtless Hitler at the end. There is something so satisfying about the build of a story, about the creation of tension, and Providence does it better than almost any story I've ever consumed. If there's one thing this show loves more than bourbon, it's Jonathan Hickman. And sort of the last of his series that we haven't talked about is The Dead and the Dying. The reason we haven't talked about it is because it never fucking comes out. We're to the really problematic part of reviewing a Jonathan Hickman book, and that is explaining exactly what the fuck is going on in a succinct way. It's kind of impossible because he always builds these big, spinning, tangling, twisting plots, and we have like 15 minutes. I'll do my best. Basically, since the beginning of time, the world has been ruled by underground albino Egyptians that have caveman slaves. The book sort of governs itself with an Inglorious Bastard style sense of revisionist history. Jesus, how the hell can we explain this? Kratos, Thor explodes guys' heads. There's old guys that are going on like Dirty Harry adventures. There's sort of Sean Connery era James Bond style spy stuff going on in the background. Listen, I'm doing a shit job of explaining this, partly because I'm an ass and partly because it's confusing and complicated. But that's kind of the appeal of Jonathan Hickman books. You never feel talked down to. He's gonna give you a completely unfiltered, wild, crazy fucking ride. And it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be full of high concept science fiction. It's gonna be full of awesome, well-constructed prose. It's gonna be full of high tension cinematic scenes. It's gonna be Jonathan Hickman and all the reasons that I and some of you love him. And despite the kind of crazy summary I just took you on, it is kind of clearer and more approachable than things like the Manhattan Projects or East of West are. And I would give this a hard recommendation if it wasn't for the goddamn ridiculous release schedule. It's gonna say, like I say, it's about every Jonathan Hickman book, but this is probably a book where you're just sort of better off waiting for the trade. That way, you're no longer at the mercy of Jonathan Hickman's personal deity of accountability. You don't have to wait for him to drop a bunch of acid and watch Cosmos so he's inspired to finish the rest of his stories. One of the only dudes I have more respect for than Jonathan Hickman is Brian K. Vaughan. I mean, everything that dude touches is legendary. So when We Stand on Guard launched, I skipped down to Comixology and was first in line for the internet. And I read it and I was kind of let down. It wasn't so immediately engaging and well constructed and full of charming, lovable characters. It was just kind of a fairly bland war story. Giant fire-breathing robot bears aside. It just didn't grab me like his work usually does. We Stand on Guard tells a story of a future hypothetical war between America and Canada, with America being sort of the bigger, bullier, jackass half of the war. Long story short, Canada gets its maple syrup flavored ass kicked and America takes everything over. Pick up the story several years later, and America is sort of systematically going and stomping out the last of the Canadian resistance. Over the first 3 issues, it didn't feel like much happened, and because the book chose to introduce all the characters to us at once, none of them really stood out that much. Issue 4 sort of corrects this, and the brilliance of Brian K. Vaughan is finally starting to come to the forefront. Mostly in the fact that characters are finally allowed to sort of enter their own scenes and develop more fully, partly because the minutia of this futuristic world starts to kind of come into focus, and we can really see the brilliant, creative, and brutal ways Brian K. Vaughan is going to surprise us. Like a lot of Brian K. books, Yep. Like a lot of Brian K. Vaughan books, We Stand on Guard violently switches back from charming and hilarious to brutally, gut-wrenchingly violent. And it creates a real sense of unpredictability in the story, and that's kind of what comes to the forefront in this issue. It just feels bolder and braver and just more interested in going to new places. This book is really starting to pick up steam. So if you've missed the first couple issues, this is the time to sort of catch up and jump on the ride with the rest of us. And yet again, we find ourselves at the end of the episode and at the bottom of a glass. I want to thank all of our viewers and subscribers and everyone that enjoys this show and enjoys this channel. Your support and patronage has meant a lot to me and Cody. I especially want to thank everyone who last week wished us good luck on launching our website. Our website will not only host our video content, but host written content for me, Cody, and you. In case you missed last week or you're just discovering the show for the first time, we are looking for people who are willing to contribute to Video Game Time Machine, whether that's in written content or video content. And I'm happy to say, after I made this, well, exact same plea last week, we have our first contributor. I'd like to welcome Levi Remington to the Video Game Time Machine family. To the regular viewers and commenters on this show, you're going to recognize Levi as the trade waiter. He's commented on almost every single episode. And when I say commented, I mean commented, like he leaves like really long comments. Anyway, we are really looking forward to working with Levi and working with all of you. So if you are interested in writing for the website or making any sort of video content, go ahead and contact us at videogame.tm@gmail.com. You can also message us on the channel's Facebook page or contact me on Twitter. So if you have a lot to say about comic books, video games, and movies, and you just want a place to say it, well, we got that for you. So we look forward to having new contributors and new content coming out in this channel. If you want to know when that content comes out, make sure you hit that subscribe button. For every new subscriber get this week, I'll donate $1 to the Free Donald Trump's Hair Fund. Now get out of here, and as always, nerds and nerdettes, go read comics.